He advised the residents to convene another meeting shortly, probably after 3.5 days. He argued that would help them deliberate further about the meaning of Kiptawar and Kizito's dream. He had joined the meeting and dispersed the crowd. The two friends, Kizito and Kiptawar, walked down the hill to Kibangara village. As they headed home, they meditated further about the dreams.
What do you think would be the meaning of these dreams?
Kiptawar asked, deliberately keeping his pace behind Kizito's long strides. It was difficult to keep up Kizito's pace though, he really walked faster than Kiptawar could. Kizito appeared absent-minded. He spoke on rare cases only when necessary. He gave counsel where necessary. Just like his late father Orkoyat, he predicted future occurrences with wisdom and precision.
I am speaking to you.
Kiptawar raised his voice. Kizito stopped instantly and turned around to face his friend.
Why are you not talking to me? I need your assistance. You have had a dream like mine. You are a son of a great seer, the son of Orkayo. You should say something, brother. The precious blood flowing in your veins has prophetic power. I know you can easily interpret the mysterious dreams.
Not a stone will remain on top of another in this generation. When the storm strikes, destruction shall come to this land and hit hard like a sledgehammer. Besides, whoever kills by a sword shall die by the sword. Behold, 2 men shall be out for war in the battlefield. One of them shall die, but his colleague shall survive the wrath of their rivals. 2 women shall milk cows in a milking shed. One will weep for losing her husband, while the other shall be glad to see hers back alive.
Kizito said in parables. His friend's mind wandered. As they raced down the hill, Kizito walked silently. Kiptawar followed closely, taking each step after him. A while later, the 2 young men bid each other bye. An enthusiastic atmosphere welcomed Kiptawar home. The goats were busy scratching their backs on the mud-smeared walls. The calves were jumping and playing merrily on the heap of goats' waste. Dusk had set in and Chumiat had fallen asleep. However, he was dull and gloomy. That afternoon's events swept away his joyous mood. He tried hard to forget the day's drama in vain.
Cooker!
Kiptawar called for his grandfather on the doorstep. No one answered.
Cooker!
He called once again. As he did so, he walked into his grandfather's hut. Kiptawar's grandfather's hut had multiple access points with aerial posts suspending the grass-thatched house roof. It was just a shade of a kind, thus making every point around it an entrance. The main hut lay in the center of circular shades of thatched tents. Perhaps it hosted all his visitors each time they came knocking to meet him. The vast compound had other thatched huts. Their walls were smoothly smeared with mud and cow dung. There were 6 of them. Different paths slid through, connecting one hut to the other. Lawns of nut grass trimmed evenly lay forth and behind each hut. The cow's shed sat to the east of the entrance. A granary full to the brim sat at a considerable distance away from the entrance. Several guards guarded the old man's homestead. A reputable person such as Chumiat from a royal family deserved security. Hence, though he was not a chief, his compound was always manned to keep away intruders and spies. Chumiat, Kiptawar and his mother Jazibi lived in it, though in different huts. Jazibi, Kiptawar's mother, rarely interacted with people ever since she lost her husband. Only on few occasions did she interact with her son or her father-in-law. She would do it on occasions she sought consultation. Jazibi immersed herself in household chores and cooking for Chumiat, Kiptawar, and the guards. Kiptawar panicked when he did not find any guards in the compound. He was afraid for Chumiat's safety. He dashed into his grandfather's hut to check for him. He was relieved when he saw his grandfather sleeping on his bed. Satisfied, he walked out of the house to fetch a piece of wood. He broke a rotting fence post that was near the doorstep. He split it into pieces of wood using a machete. He then arranged the pieces into the fireplace inside the old man's hut before lighting a fire.
Oh, old man, make some movements. You almost scared me to death with your silence a while ago. For now, this fire will keep you warm and keep off mosquitoes,
he said to his grandfather, smiling. Kiptawar watched his grandfather breathing calmly. He settled by the fireplace and observed the old man. The fire shone brightly, attracting insects. The insects seemed to enjoy the brightness of the flames. Charurus, Cadian and Telemac flew in numbers over it before the overexcited ones got into the fire and burnt. Chumiet stirred a bit and went back to sleep. He writhed from time to time like someone escaping from a dangerous encounter. He cursed in a low tone and then louder. He woke up, turned and slipped again. For hours, Chumiet tossed and turned on his katuku, made of a combination of dried bamboo stalks and tree poles. A thin sheet of a cow's skin partially covered the makeshift bed, leaving the lower side bare. His worn-out red and black checked sukkah he bought from Lopian market years back served as a blanket. It did not offer him enough warmth. Thus, he shivered time to time in the midst of his nap. Occasionally, Chumiet changed his sleeping position. Influx of ember from the fire landed on his bare feet. He rolled off his bed and landed onto the dusty floor with a thud. Kiptawar sprung up and helped him back on his bed. He watched in awe as his grandfather balanced between the two worlds, the world of nightmare and the real world. For a moment he heaved heavily. However, after a sudden shiver, Chumiet regained his consciousness. He touched his face and belly and looked around the hut.
I am sorry, Grandpa. I hope I can help,
Kiptawar observed remorsefully. He bowed down and held up his grandfather by his shoulders. He slowly walked him to his seat by the fireplace. When he sat him down, he tapped him gently on his shoulder to console him. Chumiet looked at his grandson and looked at the blazing fire thereafter. His mind wandered. He felt ashamed of himself. He should have shown courage, not fear, before his grandson. Both watched the dying fire in silence. Kiptawar rose to collect firewood from a heap by the door and placed them into the fire. He then sat beside his grandfather and poked the fire. The fire reignited and glowed brightly. Chumiet cleared his throat and spoke.
I heard a horn blow today in the morning. I guess you were among the horn blowers. I called you out here, but you did not respond. What happened? My son.
He shifted in his chair.
I heard a lot of wailing and blowing of horns.
He faced his grandson.
Was there a problem?
Yes, Grandpa. There was trouble again. The Ngoroko warriors invaded us again from Angatar border, northeast of Kibangura. They killed 10 of our warriors on guard at Angatar village. Our men tried to counter, but they were off by the time more of them got there.
Chumiet fixed his eyes on the dangling flame of fire. His wrath rose from his soul. His weary body felt stronger than before as his body muscles stretched. He yearned to hunt down all the Ngoroko warriors by himself. However, he was too old for that. He had to pave way for his grandson, the young and energetic warrior and a future leader of his people. The old man reflected on his past. The invasion reminded him how the warriors killed his son Kibor several years ago during a battle between the Ngoroko and Karlia. Shortly after inheriting the throne, Chief Kibor led his warriors to war. Unfortunately, the Ngoroko warriors crashed into Karlia warriors. They captured Chief Kibor by the river gorge and beheaded him at the end of the war. Karlia people mourned his death inconsolably.
Kiptawar, are you still their grandson?
The fire had died off again. He had memory lapses. Kiptawar watched him as he poked into the fire and added more pieces of wood to it.
Yes, grandfather, I am here.
Kiptawar responded. He tried to figure out what his grandfather was thinking about in vain. Chumiet resumed his conversation with remorse.
Sadly, I've grown old. I do not know for how long I shall be in this world. Most of my age mates are dead. In fact, there is only one of them who is still alive. He lives far away from here. My bones and muscles are weak. I am worried that I cannot walk all the way to meet him. My legs fail me. Not even my walking stick can support me there.
Chumiet spoke in a hoarse, trembling voice. He seemed beaten. He rubbed his knees and gazed into the blazing fire. He rolled his eyes like someone in search of something on the ground. Finally, he spoke again.
Kip Kirak is my friend, a childhood friend. We grew up together. He moved to Carmyle on a savanna stretch in the Great Messina Plains. I want to send you to him. He has a very important message for you regarding the future of Carliet people.
Like someone who remembered something very important, he shifted in his seat, turning away from the fireplace. He faced Kiptawar and continued.
We have been intimidated by the constant Ngoroko raids and invasions in our territory. Many years ago, my friends and I met to devise a mechanism of winning back our glory. We came up with a secret art of war to defeat our rivals.
He paused and frowned.
However, the Ngoroko warriors who spied on us all this time sought to recover the secret art from us. We all vowed to keep the secret. The ruthless Ngoroko warriors abducted my colleagues and demanded to know the secret. They tortured some of them to death. None of my friends abducted revealed it. They died protecting the future of Carliet people.
He paused and frowned for the second time.
Get to Carmyle tomorrow morning. I will guide you on how to reach Kip Kirak. When you get to him, introduce yourself. Tell him you are Kiptawar, son of the slain chief, Chumiet's grandson. Tell him I have sent you to pick Chumor's age-set covenant. Kip Kirak will give you some items wrapped in a long waterbuck's horn. We call it Lawlet. Do not leave the place until Kip Kirak blesses you.
Kiptawar was puzzled. He opened his mouth to speak, but his grandfather, shaking his head, gestured him not. He assured him they would talk more once Kiptawar returned from Carmyle. Through the open door, the duo noted the sky light up in a corner with a long, bright tail cut across the sky from north to south. They rushed out of the hut to watch it. It was so bright that they covered their eyes with their palms as they watched it in amazement.
That must be symbolic,
Chumiet said, pointing to the comet.
For now, I will use it to guide you to Carmyle, although I will figure out what its travel in the sky means. Indeed, it must be something very important.
Chumiet said. Kiptawar was now tired. He was worn out after climbing up and down Kibangara Hill many times earlier on. The activities of the day took toll on him. He restrained and yawned, struggling to listen to his grandfather.
You will take off tomorrow at dawn when the third cock crows. Follow the direction of the comet. From here, head south. I know you are familiar with the way to Carpuswa. You have been to the plains severally looking after the cattle and goats. After crossing Carpuswa River, you'll find the diversions from the course of the river on your left, but one of them is narrower than the other one. Take the narrow one through the thicket, shrubs and varieties of trees alongside it. It will safely lead you to Carpuswa Plains. Remember, do not take the wider one. It will lead you to the den of lions and other dangerous animals. By the time you descend from Carpuswa Hill, dawn will have cleared the way. Shortly after descending from the hill, you will cross Capicotio River. Walk forth for about 6 miles. You will find a flat stretch from where a small, thatched hut stands at a distance. You will have arrived at your destination, Kip Kiruk's home.
The old man concluded and urged Kiptawar to rest. He had a long journey ahead. He saw him off to bed. Kiptawar closed his eyes, but his mind was wide awake. He was torn between two forces. One discouraged him from going to Karma Isle while the other urged him to obey Chumiat. The two forces held him hostage for the better part of the night. By dawn, he had an answer. He had to set off for Karma Isle to save the future of Karliat people. He vowed to rescue the Karliat people from their hostile neighbors.